What's up, guys? Is everything on? Everything working today? I hope so. Hello. Welcome, guys. So, can you hear me? Everything on? Everything working? We good? I hope so. Did I put the link out? Okay, so, welcome today's... Guys, it has been asked that I do a podcast again. We haven't done a podcast in a while. Honestly, it's because I just don't really know what to talk about. Which I really could talk about anything, so it's kind of a moot point because it doesn't matter what we talk about. I can talk about pretty much anything. But I thought a good point today to start from would be general misconceptions and just discussing that. I got a few misconceptions here I'd love to talk to you guys about. How are you guys doing today? Vanilio says he's A-okay. How are you doing, everybody else? I hope that things are going well. So, isn't it crazy what people say sometimes? People say some just generally crazy things that doesn't often take too much thought process to actually know is wrong, right? There's a lot of things said out in the world that if you just took a little bit of brain power, you would understand that it's completely and utterly false. And that's what I kind of want to talk about today as well. What's up, Tiger, Cyan, Vanilio, Megan Gregory, Jarett Parsons, Shamar. Hello, guys. Hunter has strep. Oh no. I hope that he heals up soon. All the soon. How are you guys doing? So, I'm sure you guys have all heard that we only use 10% of our brain. And if we could just somehow use all 100% of our brain, we would unlock some sort of powers that would allow us to move things with our minds or do complex arithmetic or something. That's just not true. If you've ever seen a brain, and an active brain via MRI or something, then you would see that our brain is separated into different parts based on what we're thinking. You know, our prefrontal cortex, I think that's what it's called at least, does planning. It's that whole front part of the brain. You know, we have a part for language. We have a part for autonomy movements, you know, heart rate, rhythm, breathing, all that kind of stuff. And if we only use 10% of our brain, then we'd be missing a lot of stuff. And then what the other side of it is if we're using all of our brain, what they call that in the medical field is a seizure. A seizure happens when every neuron in a person's brain is firing off at the same time. So, people that are having a seizure are using 100% of their brain power, and we can see pretty clearly that they do not have any sort of extra dimensional powers by just unlocking their full brain potential, right? It's just not. It's nothing like that. And that's a crazy thing that people even think about stuff like this. That, like, how did they even get to that thought? People wanted to have superpowers. They wanted to feel special. They wanted to know that there's some way that they can be special if they just did something. Well, unfortunately, that's not something that people can just do. You can't just make yourself special by having unlocked power or something. You can unlock your brain and learn more things, but I think the best way to unlock your brain to use 100% of it but not at the same time is through critical thought, which is something I'm always talking about. 100% of the time, all the time. Not really 100% of the time, but I'm always talking about critical thought and what critical thinking does for everybody. Critical thinking is really just us understanding that we can have misconceptions, you know? Understanding, like, a critical thought would be like hearing somebody tell you that you're only using 10% of your brain, and that if you used 100% of your brain, you would have like telekinesis or something. But using just a slight critical thought and even knowledge of how brains work, even on a basic level, you then can tell just from that information alone that it's 100% wrong. And it doesn't even take that much thought. It literally, if you've seen a brain sectioned out into pieces, you could automatically deduce that that's not the case at all, right? What's up, Manny Singh? How are you doing? Welcome back, Shamar. Welcome again, guys, to this first podcast. I like talking and just discussing random stuff. So maybe we'll be doing I'll try to do a podcast a week. They'll be about an hour long, so that people can rewatch them if they like. I'll also try to change this background thing every week as well. You like making funny stuff? You like when I'm making funny stuff? Well, these podcasts won't be too funny. They'll probably be more real. There'll probably be more real world and maybe some funny stuff. You like talking a lot? Nice. So, yeah, I can change this background and whatnot. This background, guys, I have like 5 million of these backgrounds. I have like literally hundreds of these kind of animated backgrounds. Some of them are cool. Some of them are really cool. Did I hear you roar? I did, Tiger. I did. So, my main point is, on every single one of these podcasts that we're going to be doing, 100% is about critical thought. In the end, everything's going to be about critical thought and education and understanding. One thing we have to keep in mind, though, always, and something I have to keep in mind every day when I try to be a critical thinker, is that I can be wrong. In fact, I'm wrong most of the time. Let's get that clear. I myself am wrong a majority of the time. People might think I'm right all the time, or even that I think that I'm right all the time. But the thing about that is that I was wrong first. I was wrong first, and possibly many times I was wrong until I came across the right solution. And I was just willing to make those mistakes so that I could have a better understanding about what is correct, right? Because I'm often wrong. I'm often wrong many times before I'm right. And then sometimes I never get it right, and somebody else points it out to me that I'm wrong about something. And if we're willing to, if their definition or what they say makes more sense than what you know and covers more things with less problems than what you know, then you should accept that their idea is the more accurate one. And we have this thing that we do as humans where we just want to shut down everything. We immediately say no. We're just like, no! Immediately. As soon as we hear anything, like especially about like our favorite games or something, right? We have a really good game that we're really interested about, and then we hear this new strategy to do something, right? We hear this new strategy how to beat a level or something like that. Now, if you're a streamer or something and you're trying to just like learn it on your own, that's one thing. But I mean, if you're like looking for help and then somebody says, well, you could do it this way, and then you're like, no, I like it my way better because my way is, I like it because it's my way. You know, that kind of thought process immediately shuts down the conversation, immediately shuts down any sort of education or learning or growing, because we're always going to be wrong. And if you're willing to accept others people's information when you can verify that it is more accurate than your own information, that's critical thinking. Because it's too easy to say no. And it's actually kind of funny in improv class, something that is, you wouldn't necessarily think you would learn from an improv class, but something I heavily learned from an improv class is when I was, it tells you to not say no. In improv, you do not say no. If somebody said, if your improv partner comes on stage and says, "You're a transvestite who worked in a Boston bakery for 30 years after you got kicked to the curb by your dog," bro. And then in that, instead of being like, "No, that's so weird and strange. Why would you say?" See, that shuts down that shuts it down. What you do is you say, "Yeah, I did, and that freaking dog owes me $20 too." You know, so it's it makes it far funnier. It makes it work better. You just don't say no. First rule of improv: under no circumstances do you say no. You literally say no, never. It's a double negative. Never say no. If you say no, then you shut down the comedy, you shut down the bit, you shut down everything. And we can see this happen time and time again, especially with like Saturday Night Live actors. Like there's one example in my mind that is hilarious. And that is a Saturday Night Live host. Who was the host? It was the dude with the ponytail, and he's like a martial arts guy, and then he's like very serious. I can't remember his name. In any case, he was absolutely terrible at improv. So during these Saturday Night Live sketches with him in it, he would shut down the Saturday Night Live cast by telling them no, because they would suggest something that he didn't like. And it would just, Steven Seagal, thank you, Brandy. Yes, Steven Seagal. And it ruins the show. He was never invited back on again, and it's just, it's a really great example about how saying no really can destroy a funny bit if you're going for that. But more so than that is that's a knee-jerk reaction we all have. My whole point on this is that's a knee-jerk reaction that even I have to this day. All the time. All the freaking time. Is even in my head, somebody will tell me something cool to do. Or, new to do or try. Like, say, in Minecraft or something. And in my head, I might initially just jump to the conclusion of no. My way might be better for so-and-so a reason. But often when I end up taking their advice and I try to incorporate it into my own ideas, I often come out with something that's really unique combined with multiple ideas and multiple collaborations that allow me to create new things that other people had never thought of. Because I was willing to be wrong, right? And it's crazy how that works out. And misconceptions about everything. Really, we can just, if we spend the time to think critically, and not have a and not having a continued dialogue along something, just shuts down conversations and does not allow us to think critically at all. If we ourselves think we are perfect in every way, then we'll never think that there's any room for improvement, and there is always room for improvement. Never think that you're at the top, because you're not. You're not at the top. Nobody is. There's always room to be better. There's always room for greater heights, better things to do. And hopefully those things that you find better to do are going to help other people in the world, in life. And it won't be just stuck just thinking only about ourselves, because that is what the world is coming to today, is a world where everybody wants to think about themselves before other people. And it's really quite sad. I tell you. Loving the message. What's up, Titanic? How are you doing? Yes, so guys, we are doing this podcast again for today. It's like the first time. We're only going to go for about an hour of the podcast, so that it can be rewatched possibly. And then we'll try this for a few weeks. I mean, I like podcasts, so maybe I'll keep it. As long as it's not dying down to like just me or a couple of people that are interested in the podcast. But if if I can keep up with the topics, maybe do it like once a week on Mondays or something, or we just have a podcast. Maybe next week we do games or something. Talk about new games and things like that instead. Like, you show people, watch him because he's funny, even though he's trying to be serious. Oh, for me? You think I'm funny? Well, I can be. I realize that I can be funny, but it's only because I was not funny at some point before, right? Again, everything I know is just because I was willing to be wrong in the first place. And more so, I was okay with being wrong and without bashing myself over it. That's a huge part of it. That's a huge part of being able to of critical thinking, is knowing when you yourself do something wrong or are mistaken, and then not getting upset with yourself, and also able to change it. It's crazy. Do you guys like this background, by the way? I think this background is nifty. I got another one that I was wondering if you guys would like. Let me switch to it really quick and see if you guys like it. And alright, this one right here, bro. Isn't that cool? I thought this would be a cool background to have too. Which one do you guys prefer? The other one or this one? This one's less flowy. This is of a different thing. I actually think I like this one better, bro, for this situation. Now that I see the text on top of it and all that. Got a serious question for me? That happens. Noise. I have hundreds of these. I literally have hundreds of these kinds of animations that I bought. I bought all the licenses to them. I have like 500 different animations. Like, I have tunnels, and I have things like this, and then I have, you know, that trippy one you saw, and I have like probably 15 that are some variation of like the grid and a symbol in the center with things around there. But it's crazy. Misconceptions are a huge part of our lives. And why do we believe in misconceptions, guys? Why do we believe in misconceptions? It's because somebody told us. It's because somebody told us that we trusted. Maybe it was our fathers or our mothers or our brothers or our sisters or our best friend or our grandpa or our uncle. And all these people, like, they don't know that they're not telling you the truth about things. They didn't think about it either. But the thing is that it's up to us each individually to actually discuss and understand how things are not just what people tell us they are, right? People are wrong. People are mistaken. People are confused. Most importantly, people do not think critically. So it is up to each one of us individually to think critically about the information we obtain through any source of medium. It doesn't matter who you get it from. It could be from any of your family members, your best friend, your dog. It doesn't matter. You should always want to verify the information you gain, or at least try to think about it. As with the example of us only using 10% of our brain, if we only use, again, as we were saying at the beginning, if you only use 10% of your brain, then we wouldn't be able to do very much. And if we use 100% of our brain, we literally are having a seizure. So, like, saying it because that's the way it is, well, that's the thing, is that people see the world the way it is differently. You know, there is a factual, moral answer to everything. There is one singular answer to everything. Finding that answer ethically and logically speaking might not be the easiest solution, because there's a lot of things to consider, which ends up being why things get so muddied, why everything is more like a gray than black and white. And that really goes for a lot of things. You can't just remove one thing and replace it. A great example of this is that the Pacific Garbage Patch is just something that is a more modern issue, and it's just our garbage floating in the sea and all that. And it's in several portions of the world's oceans where the currents kind of corral all these garbage that gets into the ocean and sewage drains. And they just combine into, or not sewage drains, but like, refuse, like garbage and things that flow out to the ocean. I think the treated sewage water does sometimes get put into the ocean. But that's not as much of the problem. So, talking about this Pacific Garbage Patch, the reason I bring it up is because there's life there. There's now life there that thrives, not only lives in the Pacific Garbage Patch, but thrives there. Like thriving fish that are now floating, and now the Pacific Garbage Patch is their home. It literally is the environment that these different species have grown to evolve to live in. And it shows you just how adaptive life is in general. But also, more than that, it shows how complicated issues can be. You know, the simplest solution for us would have been, hey, let's just clean up all the garbage. Let's try to clean up all the garbage. And so that way, all of the fish in the sea seem to be fine and don't get plastics in their bodies and don't become harmed by the chemicals that are in the water and all that stuff. But now if we clean up the Pacific Garbage Patch, we're going to be killing off other species that now use that as their own, as their habitat. That is now what they're living in, right? That is what they've acclimated to. So if you were to remove all that, the garbage patch, and take away what helps this new ecosystem thrive, then we're talking and then we're talking about removing a environment in which which new species, or, well, maybe not new species. I actually don't know about if there's new. I just know that top floating fish populations are thriving in the Pacific Garbage Patch. And the garbage isn't good. Let's be real. The garbage in the water is not good. There's chemicals, there's plastic, fish are getting hurt, turtles are getting straws up their nose. It's not good. But what's the solution? If we clean up all the garbage, then we destroy a habitat and kill an entire thriving ecosystem that we created. It wouldn't be there if it wasn't for humans, right? But if we leave it there, more fish and more things are going to get hurt. So we then have to kind of keep it. Now we're in a situation where we have to keep it as a garbage patch, but just not add to it as little as possible. We want to add as little as possible to it, because if we can't necessarily get rid of it without harming more life. My whole point is that the world is not black and white. It is a gray. There is very little things that can be just straight up proven right or wrong without a doubt. And the things that can be proven up right or wrong without a doubt, pretty much everybody agrees on. And it's just okay. And then the few people that don't agree on it are generally the outliers, the village outliers that can be problematic or mentally ill. My whole point is that we have to use critical thinking and our own thought processes to understand when something is ethically or logically correct. And generally, sometimes the ethical solution is not the logical solution. The logical solution does not take into account people's lives and how people live their life. Instead, sometimes you need to add the ethical. The moral solution is more important than the logical solution. As long as it's morally correct, then logically correct, which they are not exclusive. You can have something that is morally correct but not logically correct. And you can have something that's logically correct that's not morally correct, and vice versa. It's very important. That's why critical thinking, education, the ability to think for oneself is so important. Let me read some comments really quick. As a streamer and overall good human being, how do you know when your type of humor may have gone too far? What do you mean? What is you elaborate, Titanic? Were you talking about pollution? Oh, no, Preston, we're talking about critical thought. I was using the Pacific Garbage Patch as a explanation about how the world is not just a black and white, good and evil sort of thing. Is that there's gray area. And it's really in everything, honestly. That gray area goes everywhere in everything. Not anything in the world in our modern day is just right versus wrong, and it's just right, wrong, good, evil. There's not really, things are more in the center. There of course can be purely good people and purely evil people, but that also takes really like I would imagine it'd be much easier to be an overly evil person than it would to be an overly good person, because people will drag down the good people. The people that are intentionally and willingly and knowingly causing harm to people for the sake of their own benefit, they will bring down the good people as much as they can, because the good people make bad people look bad. And since they only care about themselves, they're gonna try to bring down the good people. And again, most people want to be good. Most people want to be good. Most people think that they're kind-hearted, that they're nice to people, that they take care of their environment around them, that they're just good individuals overall. Nobody wants to think that they're the bad guy, except the bad guys. And really, nobody thinks that they're the bad guy, but in reality, we all have our part in what's bad. We all throw away trash that does not get sent to that does not make it into landfills. Is landfills a good thing? No. But do we have another solution? Not really. I mean, depending on what we're doing. Are plastics good? Not really. But we don't really have another solution to fix these larger issues. It's all a gray area that takes a lot of thought and possibly new technologies. In some cases, to get rid of plastics, we had to develop bacteria or biological life forms that would then disintegrate plastics in only a few days, rather than a half-life of 100,000 years. And if you guys, maybe you guys don't know, a half-life is of anything chemistry speaking. A half-life means that during that amount of time, half of the material that is there will be deteriorated or will be gone. So saying a plastic, say this cup, I threw this cup away, and its half-life was 100,000 years. That means 100,000 years from now, half of this will be gone, and then the other half will be left. And then 100,000 years later, another half will be gone from that half, and then another 100,000 years, half of that half will be gone. And then that's how it goes until it's down to one particle. Half-Life is just a game. People can make changes, up to them. That is a very good point, Shamar. I myself changed. When I was younger, I had problems with people. I was not very nice to everybody, and I had problems with people that I perceived threats against me from. But it was wrong. It was wrong. And I realized that I had an epiphany moment that these people had never done anything to me. And that I was just, I was paranoid based on my own beliefs and how I was grown and how I learned things. And then I had this sort of epiphany where I stopped hating. At the snap of a finger, I stopped hating this entire group of people because I realized how dumb it was. It was dumb of me to feel that way. And that was kind of actually the start of my critical thought. My ability to critically think. That was all started not when I was at some young age, but when I was 19. I was outside my house smoking a cigarette, and I just realized things that I made these connections that made me realize how wrong I was on so many different things. So many different things. And I ended up going back to school, getting educated, and taking so much education that I have more education than a lot of people do, and I'm not even finished with my education yet. I just love learning. But everything I've learned, I had to be wrong about first. I had to be wrong about first to even learn these new things. Parasocial situations, what do you mean? Like talking with ghosts? Critical thinking is important, guys. If there's one thing I could do, and something I'd like to take this channel on a direction to, is thought processes, is critical thinking, is trying to help the world want to better itself. And I don't know if I can do that. As by myself. I'm just one person with one very small YouTube channel. But that's what I'd like to do. I mean, I'm not a gamer. I play a lot of games. I do a lot of gaming, sure. But in my heart, I'm not really a gamer in the end. I get bored of games. And if I wasn't creating content around video games for the past 5 years, I probably would have stopped playing games for at least a year. Just completely stopped playing any games for a whole year or two. Because that's what it used to be. I used to stop playing games for months and months at a time just because I just got bored of playing games and did other things. Parasocial, online friendships, social media relationships, etc. You've been struggling with that lately. Well, again, when it comes to that kind of stuff, like parasocial relationships being online, is that an online relationship is not going to flourish very much. Maybe you might have a few friends. Yeah, it might have a few friends, but when it comes to my case, most people don't see, most of the people I've met on this platform and the parasocial relationships I have had have turned out to be worthless to them. To me, not so much. I build these friendships. I think these people are good people. I want to be their friends. I hang out in their streams. But some of them just ditch the platform and never, ever, ever say hi again. Never even come to the streams. They don't stream anymore, so I can't help them. So were we ever really their friends? No. But we have to understand that this isn't online. We are anonymous. That people's real lives do matter more. And they should. I mean, honestly, every person's real life should matter more than their online life. The only reason why someone's online life should matter is if their career is dependent on it, which, I can definitely see that. It'd be hard for a content creator who fakes everything, and then when it comes out that they've been faking everything for years, and then they get canceled for that, it's different than somebody who is just being on there to be there, right? You're a content creator? Nice. I'm betting you play Animal Crossing. So guys, critical thinking is mighty important. It is literally one of the most important things I would like to talk to you guys about every single week. How would you guys like you deleted all your social medias and feel free from the anxiety building up? Best decision. I could see that. I could see that. I deleted Facebook a long time ago. I had a MySpace before that, but I have not used Facebook or MySpace in many, many, many years. I use Twitter, but that's really only for this channel. Though I'm a political person, so I have a hard time seeing people talk about things politically and then not using their brains at all to even think about anything that's going on in the situation. They have their very narrow definition of what the world should be like, and then that's what they want to define everybody by. They want to define everybody by this narrow view of the world that they want to live in, without thinking about that other people have lives too that are not them, you know, that just want to live their lives and be happy. And why stop people from just living their lives the way they want to live their lives? Especially if nobody's stopping you from living yours the way you want to live it. You know, I see people in comment sections complain about how all their rights have been taken away when they're sitting there on YouTube complaining about it. If your rights were taken away, and if things were that bad for you, you wouldn't have a computer. You wouldn't have internet. You wouldn't have power. You wouldn't have protection. You wouldn't have anything. Right? You literally have people that live comfortable lives and sit happily up in their towers of gold feel like they have all the right to complain about everything underneath them because it's beneath them. And that's just wrong. Nobody should think like that. Nobody. It doesn't matter who you are. You shouldn't think like that. Everybody should always think about other people. Say that for your attention. Some may. Some may. You're not on social media, just Discord. That is true. Like clickbaiters, well, there's two types of clickbait, Shamar. There is clickbait where it's blatant clickbait that doesn't have anything to do with a video, or like the clickbait I would use would be something that is clickbait, like people click into it, but it's something that has to be in the video. Like the thumbnail has to be something that is actually in the video. The name of the title of the thing has to be a part of the video. Like I'll never make a video where the title and thumbnail have nothing to do with what's in the video, or even nothing adjacent to the video. What side of the aisle do I land politically? I have to say I'm individual, and because the two far left and right sides complain about everything. They're all complaining about everything and nothing's getting solved, you know? When it comes to liberals are complaining about getting offended by things that don't even affect them. Like, people that are on the left side complain about everything that doesn't affect them. Like, they get upset about literally everything and butthurt about anything that is, especially if it doesn't affect them personally, they'll be more offended by it. Now, we go to the other side, the right side spectrum of this place, and everybody on the right side is butthurt if they don't get their way, like children. If they don't get exactly what they want, how they want it, then they will behave like children and throw tantrums and threaten people. Like, threaten people. Like, think about that. Where the right side has gotten to such a point where they refuse to even have a conversation. When we go up into the politics higher up, and we go into Democrats versus Republicans, or the GOP, we see Democratic side politicians constantly trying to work with and find solutions that both Republicans and Democrats can work together. And then it's just the right side that refuses to work together to solve any issues at all. So now, if you're on the right side of politics, or if you're a right-winged individual, I highly suggest you stop voting in right-winged people, because they are actively, they will tell you one thing and then actively do against that. Like, if you're actually paying attention and you're voting people that are right-wing into office, then you should be actively paying attention that they will tell you one thing and then do the exact opposite. And then the bad things that they'll do, they'll say that the Democrats did it. They'll just say that the Democrats did it, and then everybody on the right just believes it. And then the Democrats can't do anything because they're not like the Republicans. They're not gonna go and just do the same illegal stuff that Republicans are doing that are on the GOP side because they're Democrats. They want to use the law to solve the solutions. They want to use talking. They want to use the court systems, right? And the other side of it, the right-wing side of it, doesn't want to use court systems. They want to use their fists and guns to decide arguments, which is not how things should be ever. Everybody, well, no, only Republicans are blaming Biden, Brandy. Only Republicans, and that's again, they're not critically thinking. You can't blame Biden for anything. If you're blaming Biden for things right now, then you're just not using your brain. I'm sorry, you're just not using your brain. He has fixed so many things in such little time that our previous president was actively harming Americans with. And if you think he wasn't harming them, you should definitely stop doing your own research. Like, that bugs me so much. People that say that they do their own research are literally watching some dude on a YouTube like this. Like what I'm doing right now. They watch someone like me talking right now, and they just accept everything they say. Don't accept everything I say. Don't take it. Don't just hear what I say and just believe it. I don't want you guys to. I want you guys to think about it yourselves and think about what makes the most logical and ethical sense, and then go with that. If you want to use some of the points I make as a way to determine what you think, then you can, but still don't use only what I say. Don't use what I say as what guides your beliefs. Your beliefs should be your own, that you fully thought about yourself. Blaming Biden for inflation is wrong, because think about it. The whole world has inflation right now. Everybody in the world, at Brazil, Europe, Africa, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you are. There's inflation right now. Last time I checked, Barack Obama and Biden are not controlling Africa. They're not controlling Brazil. They're not controlling the EU. But that's the whole thing, is that people on the right side are only seeing what their media is telling them. So, and this is a huge point about critical thinking. People that are right-winged are following the sounds of their family members, their friends, their Fox News and OAN and all these. And then these news stations are saying every other media source is lying to them. Then these people find out that Fox News, OAN, and all these people are lying to them. So then they find out and they realize that these stations that they've been trusting so long have been straight up lying to them. Like literally the same thing. And then you go, and then these people stop believing in all media at all, because of one news station that lied to them, that told them that no other station was telling the truth. And let me put it this way. CNN just posted a truthful story putting liberals in a very bad light, which, if anything, proves that CNN is there based on facts. And CNN, MSNBC, all these news stations that right people totally can't trust, they can't lie to you. Because if they lied to you, it would be the biggest news of the century. If CNN even had one lie or one false fact on their station, Fox News and OAN and all those stations you would never hear the end of it. You would only hear about how how CNN lied to you and how much more you can't trust them because they lied to you. But Fox News, Tucker Carlson won. Now get this. Tucker Carlson won a court case against somebody who sued him for misinformation because, and I quote, no person of reasonably sane mind would believe what they see portrayed on Fox News Tucker Carlson's show. Again, no person of reasonably sane mind would believe what they see on Tucker Carlson. Therefore, it is a entertainment only show. So if you believe anything Tucker Carlson says, the government thinks that you are you are an unreasonably insane person. The actual government itself thinks that you are unreasonably insane. It's crazy. It's crazy. And you know, all of our problems would be solved if with critical thought. With critical thought and default education about critical thinking. Instead of trying to stop the education of children, we go the other way. We actually teach them to think critically themselves at a young age instead. Instead of teaching them about things that are kind of frivolous, and instead going straight for critical thought things that help children develop at an early age to think critically, to solve the problems that are in front of them using rational, logical, and ethical thought, instead of just just having kids learn a set curriculum until they get to college. Because right now, the only time that people start learning about critical thinking and how to solve problems on their own is after they've already left the public education system in America. And that's the issue, is that our public education is an issue, and they just want to hurt it. What Titanic says is the government wants people to be dumb. No. The Republicans in the government, the GOP specifically, don't teach your kids. Andrew, I bet you cannot tell me what CRT is. You cannot tell me what CRT is. Like, you know the name, but that's the thing. That's the thing, is that you have to teach history. There is a famous phrase that right-winged people don't understand, is those who fail to learn history are doomed to repeat it. How many times? You got everybody on the right wing has ignored history, and they're falling into the same trap that has happened in history. It's already all this stuff has happened already in different ways throughout history. And if people would just understand history is one of the most important subjects for people to learn. Everybody should learn history, and it should be forced. It should be forced in schools as the main thing that people learn when growing up is history, which means understanding that USA were slaveholders. If you just want to plug your ears and go, la, 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 oh, that history doesn't matter, then you're looking to make the same mistakes. Do you want your children to start thinking that other people should be their slaves? Do you really think that other people should be your children's slaves? Because you didn't want your children to learn about history, about not making the same mistakes? What? Tell me, Andrew, some of the books that were removed from schools were math books. Removed for critical race theory, they were math books. Literally, one of those books, the only mention to black people at all in it were no, Democrat. No, Andrew, you're thinking of it wrong here. You're thinking of it wrong. Democratic, what people are today is what they are today. Values change. Words change. Words, depending on how a word is used, can completely change its meaning. So you can say Democrats, blah, 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 were all back then, but that's not the values that Democrats hold today. By saying that, you are clearly You are actively ignoring current information. The people that care about slavery and all that's Republicans. It doesn't matter. Call them whatever you want. It doesn't change how they think. It does not change. You can call, if you wanted to switch up the names between Republicans and Democrats right now, it doesn't matter. Because what it seems like to me is throughout history, Democrats have now what Republicans originally stood for way back when, right? If it was Democrats having all the slaves, then it's Republicans that are now the Democrats and Democrats that are now the Republicans. Again, you're not thinking about the situation. It doesn't matter what your affiliation. You're just muddying the issue by saying, "Oh, well, back then when it meant something different." No, it means something completely different today. How many words do we use that are not the way we used them back then, right? Words change definitions. And I would argue that Democrat has changed definition as well. So is Republican. In fact, Republican has changed so much in definition over the past 10 years, five years, that it is unrecognizable. So unrecognizable that the Republican Party will eventually die. And it's all the GOP's fault. Because right now, everybody who follows the right side, they're closed off. They're closing their brains. They're plugging their ears. They're going la 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 la. No, that's what people on the Republican side are doing. And once they stop, it's eventually going to get so bad for them that they'll realize that, oh, they're wrong. And it might not be your generation. It might be your kids. It might be your children that hate the idea of what their parents are so much that they refuse to be them. Think about that. That's what Republican children are doing. Children of Republican people hate what their parents are and what their parents believe so much that in fact turns them to be Democratic because they don't want to be like their parents. Think about that. Democratic children in the modern world want to be like their parents and think these good thoughts. And then Republican children want to be Democrats too. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy, bro? And then the only people that don't want to be Democrats are the people that love guns and like shooting at people and think that people should be slaves. Those are the people that don't want to be Democrats. It doesn't matter what you call what people were back then. What we see today is people that claim to be Republican are the ones who want slavery, who want to harm people, who want to have guns. It doesn't matter what you call them. Call them what you want. It doesn't change the fact that they want the guns. They call themselves Republicans, so you can complain that the people that call themselves Republicans are now the ones who want to own slaves, who want to have guns, who want to have this. And then you can complain that Democrats don't. You can't say that Democrats today want the same things that that people that called themselves Democrats 100 years ago might have said. It's not the same thing. They're not the same people. They don't share the same values. You can call them the same thing all you want. That doesn't mean their values are the same. By trying to say that everything is still as it was 100 years ago, well, that means that the South is still fighting to win, right? The South who wants slavery, it doesn't matter. The fact is that the Confederate side, be it Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter what you call it, the Confederate side wanted slaves. The Confederate side wants guns. The Confederate side wants to harm individuals for disagreeing with them. That's the Confederate side of this. That is what nowadays the people that follow Confederacy, please tell me, who are those people these days? Are they Democrats? I'm sorry. Is it Democrats that are holding up these Confederate signs that want to go back to what it was when slavery happened? No, that's not it. And what we need is education. What we need is people to all have the same information. Everybody would be agreement 100% if everybody just had the same factual information. And that's the thing. is that Fox News and all these other sources, your parents, if you live in the right-wing if you live in a right-wing state, you're inundated with right-wing things. Your parents, your mother, your father, your sister, your cousin, your dog, it doesn't matter. All of these people are going to be telling you something, and then so you're not even going to think you heard it from Fox News. You can be like, oh, I didn't hear this from Facebook or Fox News. I heard it from my grandpa, who heard it from his brother, who heard it from his cousin, who heard it from his mother. And that's all. That's the last place I know where they heard it from. Well, guess where that mother got it from? Fox News and Facebook, who are actively and in legal courts proof to be lying to you. They literally are proven in a court of law in a court of law that these sources of information are lying to you. Like, in a court of law in America, proven these sources of information lie to you. Proven in a court of law. I cannot stress that enough. They were sued for information, and then they win their court cases by saying that no person would believe what they say, which we know to not be true because people believe it all the time. Which says, are they of reasonably sound mind? I would think so. It's just that they're not getting their information. I don't think that that's accurate. I think it's just how it is shown. I think it's just the information that is provided. If we were to put on Fox News, Facebook, all this stuff, there was a big old warning. And let's go to the left side too. Late show night hosts. They're not supposed to be used for getting your news. But most people on the left, on liberal side, that's where they get their news, because comedians tell less lies or put things, I guess I should say, comedians will put things in a way that kind of gives you the information pretty accurately without having to spend all day working on it. And then if you hear something from a comedian on a late show night host, if you hear a comedian saying something as a joke on a late night show, you then go verify it with reality, with what you can bring up. You don't just take it at face value. And that's a whole other thing, is that would also have the same disclaimer I'm talking about. All shows that have any sort of news should have a warning that says, everything said here is meant for entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as actual news source. Should be a warning on every single show that does not claim to be that claims to have any sort of news about the world. So if CNN told a single lie ever that could be proven in a court of law, they would then have to promote the fact that they said this lie, and then they would have to then correct it and all this stuff. But some news like Fox News Station would then have to have it up every single show because it's everything is a lie. Like Tucker Carlson in particular will just ask you questions, ask you open-ended questions that could have any sort of answer. Like, is it possible that our country is run by lizard aliens that are trying to destroy us? No, that's not possible. But the fact that he asks it makes people like, I wonder if there is. No, there's not. No, there's not possible. Where's even a shred of evidence for that? Where's even one piece of evidence for that? People that watch Fox News won't ask for that evidence. They won't care about that evidence. What they care about is that they're now thought-provoked and angry. And because they're angry, they don't want to think about anything. And that's exactly what they want. That's exactly what they want from you. You literally play into their hands. Tucker Carlson's show. He wants you to get angry. He wants you to be upset so that he can keep you watching his show next time. He's like, so next time on this, you'll be able to listen, and we'll find out. Exactly, Mighty Ram. He's saying, well, I didn't say that. That's all the people saying. So it must be true. And that's another manipulative tactic. That's a manipulation tactic that is saying, that is the, what is the, I actually don't know what it's specifically called. We just want to be left alone. Don't force your liberal lifestyle on us. Nobody's forcing a liberal lifestyle, Andrew D. Nobody is forcing a liberal lifestyle. That is what you've been bred to fear, Andrew. That is literally, you're literally proving my point 1,000,000% right now. You've grown up in a place where they had you fear that, when that's not even gonna happen to you. Nobody cares how you live your life. Nobody. They just want you to stop interfering with theirs. They just want you to stop interfering with their life. You literally want the same thing as everybody else. But you don't even understand that. You don't even understand that. Please use your head. Nobody cares about your life and how you want to live your life. Live the way you want. That's the whole point. You are trying to force your conservative, you're trying to force your Southern conservative military family values on the liberals. Why don't you see how hypocritical that is? How can you not see how hypocritical that is? It bugs me. Because you should be able to see in your own sentence that you just said how hypocritical it all is. How much of a hypocrite to be, I don't want you to force your liberal lifestyle on me. Only I want to force my conservative lifestyle on you. That's such a hypocrite way to think. Just use your brain. This is critical thinking. This is exactly what I'm talking about. That is exactly what I'm talking about. The exact thing I'm talking about right there is how it would take you literally 2 seconds to understand that misconception. Literally 2 seconds in your own sentence to understand your own misconception. I live in a very liberal place, and nobody has ever forced a liberal freaking lifestyle on me. Not one person. My own mother wouldn't have forced that on me. If my mother own mother would let me be a Republican. If she thought that I should be, she would think that I should just think my own way and grow up with my own beliefs. She would let me. Nobody's forced me. I just came to the conclusion that it is more inclusive to people. Let me point it out this way. If we look at where Republicans live to where Democrats live, let's say where conservatives live to where liberals live, we see that conservatives live in rural areas, all by themselves, surrounded by maybe a town of 1,000 people, and that everybody knows each other and everybody's nice to each other and it's all wholesome and family. And then the people that are liberals are the people that live in cities, densely packed, millions of people in one area, thinking about each other all day long, having to deal with each other all day long. This is liberals. Liberals live in large communities surrounded by people of all different walks of life, and they have to live with it. They have to care about other people because they live with them. Rural Americans become conservative because they can think about themselves and only themselves. They never have to deal with it. And then they're told to fear things that don't exist. You're told to fear things that don't exist. And without critical thought, you just accept that that's the case. You just accept the case. You think that liberals are trying to force a liberal lifestyle on you. No. They're just trying to live their own lives in peace. Trying to get rid of assault rifles out of America and put harsher gun laws is not trying to put a liberal lifestyle on you. It's so that conservatives stop shooting up liberal schools. They're just trying to preserve their own way of freaking life, bro. Like, think about that. All the conservatives can think about every single time is Your body, my choice. My body, my choice. Is literally the conservative motto. Is your body, my choice. My body, my choice. Everything. Guns, vaccinations, masks, you name it. Abortions. It doesn't matter. In every single case, they believe that somebody else's body is their choice and that their own choice matters on their own choice. Too many, like, how can you think that that's okay? How is that not hypocritical? How can it be okay for conservatives to force their lifestyle on the majority of America, which are liberal? Let's get that right. Republicans make up the lesser of the entire American country. Republicans are less. There's fewer of them, and more every single day. Democrats are people are leaving Republican side because they understand how mind-boggling crazy they've become. Nobody cares about each other. Conservatives only care about other conservatives. What liberals do? They care about conservatives and liberals. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy how liberals care about everybody, whether or not they agree with them? And conservatives in this day and age only care about what they think and the people that agree with them? Isn't that hypocritical? How can you argue with any of this stuff? You just can't. You just can't. It just makes sense. It makes logical and ethical sense. You can't say that liberals are forcing their lifestyle on you when they're not. For example, liberals have been liberal for years, and you're still living the way you want to live, right? Nobody's gonna change how you want to live. Nobody cares. Liberals don't give a crap if you want to live and shoot cans on your farm. Nobody cares. Have fun. Have at it. You wanna have sex with some dude out in the middle of a field somewhere and then tell all your friends you're not gay? Sure, that's fine. That's a conservative thing to do. It's just crazy to think that so many people think that their lives are being infringed while infringing on the lives of others, and then having the nerve to complain and say that their own lives are being hurt. The world needs to change, guys. People need to start thinking critically. Both sides. Again, liberals aren't free of this roast anymore than, liberal. Okay, let's get it real. Liberals care a lot more about people, therefore there's less to complain about. So, because they care about more people, they've gotten into this where they care too much, right? Where liberals, they just bitch about everything. They will complain on somebody else's behalf that they don't even care. The other day I was just talking about it. Native Americans or Native Indians to America if you think that they're offended by being called Indian, well, that means you just don't understand their culture. Yes, it was made in a racist way. Absolutely. No denying that how Native Americans got the term Indian, it was a racist term. But Native Americans themselves use it to talk about themselves these days. It's not an offensive term to them. So by liberals getting offended by it, they're not even paying attention to the culture in which it is used. Now, in my argument for it is that there's this country called India, and if we're calling Native Americans Indians, then what are we calling Indians? What do we call Indians then? They're from India. We don't call Americans, something else. When we don't call Indians Americans and then us Indians because we're American. No, that doesn't make sense. So we would then go to Native America. Native Americans, if you're trying to distinguish. But again, liberals can't get upset if people use the word Indian to refer to Native Americans, because Native Americans are not offended by it, right? So liberals shouldn't be getting offended about that. Both sides are too offended by everything. That's why so many people are more moving central. And with how things are going, the GOP is going to completely destroy Republicans. Conservativeship is going to die out within the next 2 generations because your children and your children's children who do have the ability to think, because they'll see as they're growing up the atrocities and the problems caused. They will recognize those and just refuse to be a part of it. They will refuse to be a Republican. Therefore, over the course of 2 or 3 generations, there will be no more Republicans existing anymore. All because of how they want to carry themselves to this day. And it'll be all their own fault. It would be literally their own fault. And there's nothing that I think that anybody can do to stop their eventual demise at this point. Republicans will eventually, everybody who's Republican now will either die off being a Republican and go to their deathbed thinking Republican values, and then their children will hate their values. Their children will hate the values of their parents because their children are surrounded by people having to go and talk to other people and understand values and understand that other people matter, especially in the online world where it's only getting more and more connected, where more and more people communicate. It doesn't matter what walk of life you're in, the kids are growing up on the internet. If you want to keep your children away from CRT, well, you better keep them off the frickin' internet then. If you want to keep your children away from learning history and learning how things are in the world, well, stop letting them be on the internet because they're going to learn one way or the other. It doesn't matter if you take it out of public education system. It doesn't matter. Then because you're still going to learn it. And then they're going to hate you even more for it. They're going to hate you even more because you kept this from them. Because then they'll feel lied to. And then they'll even more not want to be a part of conservative beliefs. They just won't. And therefore, using this logic, a logical deduction we can make here is that over time, as more and more people leave the Republican Party because the Republican values no longer align with their own, and they're going to just change. History is written by the victors. That was back then. Mighty Ram, now history is written by the internet. And you can't get away from it because history is all over the world. And really, if it's not stored, history, if history is destroyed in our country, for example, say that America got rid of all history. Well, there's a lot of countries that don't like America that would be very happy to point out how bad our history is. Like, again, in such a connected world today, not everybody's American. So history is written by the internet. The internet controls everything, right? So it doesn't matter. If all history was removed from history books in America, that would not stop all of Japan teaching their kids about how bad America has been. It wouldn't stop Native Americans. It wouldn't stop any other country in the world. It would not stop them from appropriately discussing the history of America. And in education, in college education, it's not stopped either. That we had that were crazy. Well, history was at one point written by the victors, for sure. Our history is just lies? No, our history is not lies. And not mention a single thing that U.S. did. Well, in public education system, it is an issue. It is an issue in our public education system in America. The history is meant to cushion the blow of how bad we are. Because our country did some bad things. And just plugging our ears and just ignoring it is not going to change anything. It's going to only make things worse 100% of the time and never help anybody. It'll only make things worse. More people will be harmed. More people will be... and actually, more mistakes will be made that have been made in history. The French... an important piece of history to note is that France went through 5 revolutions in 15 years. 5 revolutions in only 15 years. That means, and they were bloody. That was people trying to change the government for better, not liking it, changing it again. Not liking it, changing it again. It went from republic to democracy to republic to a Republican democracy to a Republican to democracy. And I'm pretty sure that their current form of government, a democratic republic, is what still goes on today. I could be wrong about though. Verify. See? Exactly what I'm talking about. Verify that. And those 5 revolutions, people don't understand what those revolutions were caused. They were caused by much the same kind of issues that people think are existing today. And that's the problem, is that some of these issues don't exist. And it's just people telling you they exist, but people not verifying to understand if it actually exists. So, a great way to point out this problem is black people incarcerated versus white people incarcerated. People are like, well, there's a lot more black people incarcerated. There's about the same number of black people incarcerated as there are white people incarcerated. Yeah, possibly, but that's completely ignoring the fact that black people make up about 25% of the population. So saying that they don't get incarcerated that they don't get incarcerated as much as white people is just willfully ignoring the information. You're just willfully ignoring key parts of the information to fit your narrative. Keep in mind that if that means that the same number of people, of white people, or there's more black people incarcerated than white people, and there's less black people in the country, then that means that they're being incarcerated a lot more. And that's for dumb reasons too. I can't tell you how many news stories there are of false incarcerations about black people. Hey, what's up there, Lucas? How are you doing? Racism, slavery. Nah, Lucas, that doesn't really happen in America. Again, in America, it's just systematic. Exactly, Titanic. It is. It's systematic racism, and people don't even realize that they're being racist. Again, nobody wants to think that they're the bad guy. Nobody. Not even the racist people think they're racist. They'll get offended if you call them racist. They'll be like, I'm not racist. And then they'll just naturally choose things that are racist, right? And that's not critical thought. They're not understanding how they're contradicting themselves all the time. And Lucas, in America public schools, from grades of kindergarten to 12, which is our grade system generally here, you will not learn too much about the bad parts of American history. You have to go into college before you learn that stuff. And that's just wrong. That's just wrong. We should learn our history. Maybe not at like 5 years old, but at least when you get to high school, right? At least when you get to high school, children could then learn they're old enough to learn that the United States is not perfect. Nobody is. That's the whole point of critical thinking. Nobody is a perfect critical thinker. I'm not a perfect critical thinker. If I thought I was a perfect critical thinker, therefore I would not be a critical thinker at all. Because if you think you know everything, you then therefore you forget how to learn. No history in college? No. You get history, Lucas, but you don't get the bad parts. You don't get the bad parts of history in America. Like, you won't be told too much about slavery. You won't be reading too much about slavery that America had, 100 years ago. You won't hear too much about the bad parts. You only hear about the good things that various history has taught us. Oh, music ended. Let me go here, repeat, shuffle. Learn so much about the genocide, COD. Really? Where are you at, Interstellar? I would love to hear it. When I was in high school, there was very little of it. But dude, where is your education? Are you in a very liberal state? Like, are you in a liberal state, or are you in a PA? That could go either way. I could see that. Okay, so that makes me feel better, Interstellar, because anything like that is being removed. Everything, yeah, it's a swing state. Yeah, it could go either way. So you guys are like liberal slash conservative, kind of both ways there. So yeah, I could see it. You have to go make dinner. Okay, Mighty Ram, have a good dinner. And we're actually over time today, so we'll actually have to be ending this podcast here, because I only wanted to make it an hour so it could be easily digestible after as a video itself. You looked at history books and nothing in the book compared to what you learned in 7th grade. Andrew D., I'm actually very curious about what your wife's grade book now says compared to what it used to say, because I agree, they're probably very different. You know about history ignores that? Oh yeah, there's at least one or two of them. In fact, that Mr. Vince, that shite probably still exists over in different countries. Maybe even in America, and then it's just powerful people hiding up such things, which is sickening. What's up, Ethan? How are you doing? Tiger with your emoji. My whole point is today is that there are lots of misconceptions we have, and we have to be willing to understand when we have a misconception and how to fix that situation. As the stream started today, the discussion all started from I had 3 misconceptions that I wrote. I literally had 3 misconceptions that I wrote down on a notepad here, and I literally only talked about one of them today and then got off on a tangent about other stuff. So the whole point when we were talking about earlier is that we don't only use 10% of our brain. That was what we started the stream with, was we discussed how it would take only a half a second to understand that we use a lot more than only 10% of, we use our whole brain at different times, just not at the same time. Because if we use 100% of our brain at one time, that is what in the medical field they call a seizure. So it just takes a moment of thought to understand that misconception, which is widely accepted, is just not true. The other 2 misconceptions I just randomly wrote down, there's thousands, by the way, is something that like a lot of people say to me, is like, oh, you drink so much coffee, why are you not dehydrated? Well, let's use critical thought. Why would somebody not be dehydrated by drinking coffee? Black coffee specifically. Let's talk about mainly black coffee here. Why would this not be a diuretic? And what that means is dehydrates you. It dehydrates you by drinking, because caffeine is said to dehydrate you. It does, but only in large amounts. First off, not enough in a cup of coffee, because it would take like 100 cups of coffee to reach that kind of it. And then when you take into account that coffee is just a homogeneous mixture of coffee particles and water. The water does not become a different particle. It does not change from H2O into some other particle. It's still water. Therefore, this is the equivalent of drinking a big old cup of water just with some coffee particles mixed in. Again, another very simple critical thought process to understand it. So if somebody tells you that you're going to be dehydrated by drinking coffee, that's wrong. In fact, you're going to get just as much water from this as if you had a cup of water of the same amount. The only thing is that it's slightly diuretic, but only to such a minuscule amount that you'll never even notice it. Maybe if you never had coffee before, right? Maybe if you had so little coffee that when you had caffeine, it maybe made you slightly more dehydrated, but not enough to actually harm you. And that was my second other. I could go on a whole spiel about about that alone. It's just the misconceptions we have about everything and how important critical thinking is to a cohesive whole and unity in not only ourselves but the world. And if everybody in the world thought critically, there would be no disagreements. Because there is, as I said at the beginning, there is one solution, one ethical and moral and logical solution to everything. That may be a super gray area and may be hard to find that answer, but there is one solution that will work, and we just have to agree on that solution. We just have to agree on the solution that takes logic and ethics into account. You have to care about other people. You have to care about the lives of other people. That is more important than it being logical. Is you have to first care about the lives of other people, and then you take in logic into account. Because people want to just take logic into account without caring about the human element. And you just have to. You have to take the human element as a part of it. Nobody wants to think they're the bad guy. Nobody wants to think that they're doing things that harm other people. They just want to live their lives their own way. And that goes for both sides. That goes for all sides. Both sides want to live their lives in peace without the other one, or all sides, I should say, because there's a lot more than just two sides here. There's like a million sides. All the sides want to live their lives in peace and not be told how to live their lives by somebody else. And that's the thing, is that there's so many sides that try to work together on the issues, and then just if one person, one group of people don't want to work together, then how can a democracy work? How can people work together if one side just plugs their ears if things are not going their way? If they just plug their ears and go, la, 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 I'm not listening, that doesn't solve any problems. That only continues to create more divides and more issues. And that is why critical thinking is so important when it comes to misconceptions. So, with that being all said, thank you guys so much for joining on this podcast today. Man, it's quite a podcast. I only got to talk about a little bit here, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you guys want, I was thinking I'd do a podcast every single week. We do a podcast every week and we talk about different things. This week I was talking about misconceptions. They'll probably all be about critical thinking. Every single act video will have some sort of element of critical thought. Some sort of critical thought as part of it. As being the source of how we think about things and how we take on problems and how we help other people. You know, why don't we just help everybody? Why don't we make everybody have the lives they want to live? Republicans, let them live on the farm, let them live the way they want to live, but as long as they're aware that other people exist other than them. And that they have to not care about what the liberals do. And the liberals have to not care so much about what some of the Karens of the world have to not care about what other people do. They have to stop being offended by everything. Being butthurt by everything doesn't help either. On the farm, conservatives are heavily... well, let's be real. We look at statistics. Conservatives live in rural America. They live in small communities with like less than 10,000 people and generally on farms. We look at Democratic or liberal side of things, and one city is not liberal, and that's Houston, Texas. But that's because it's so right wing that it's red. It's hard to move out of there because it's so much. And then every other city in the United States is all liberal. Every other city. What does that tell you? It tells you that everybody that lives together in a city, works together on a daily basis, has to see each other, has to face each other every day, has to walk past each other on the street. They're always thinking about each other. That tells you that everybody that lives in cities are always thinking about each other, no matter what walks of life they are, no matter what they think, what things need to happen. And then we see the other side, rural America. They only want to think about themselves. They only care about their own lives. They only care about the lives of their friends and their family and the people that are close to them. They only want to live. They only want to learn what they want to learn. They don't want to discuss things that disagrees with them. And anybody who is of a different color or of a different shape or different orientation is automatically considered evil. My question again becomes, if you want all these people, these gay people, these black people, Mexican, it doesn't matter, any walk of life, if you don't want them interfering with your life, why are you interfering with their lives? A bit of an overgeneralization? No, I wouldn't say that at all. Oh wait, are you not talking to me? See you later, Doyle. Have a great day. First world problems, nothing compared to the other countries' problems. Good up and yeah, we need to just work together, Andrew. We need to work together across the aisle and remove the aisle. Just remove the aisle altogether. We should be in unison as much as possible. I think democracy is important. Having multiple ideas, having everybody input their own ideas is important. Probably what's more important is that before they get those ideas of what they should do, they need to think critically about the information they're getting and know what is fact versus what is fiction. They have to know who's trying to manipulate them and who's just trying to get the facts across the table. There's right-wing people are heavily manipulated, and you can just look at the manipulation definitions of different manipulation tactics, and you'll just see right-winged individuals be manipulated by these tactics over and over and over again. Just look up a general list of manipulation tactics and then apply it to both CNN and Fox News. You will see the manipulation tactics of Fox News is just crazy. They use every tactic in the book of manipulation to make you think what they want you to think. And CNN is willing to bash on liberals just as much as they're bashing on Republicans. It just so happens that there's a lot more things against Republicans. Always said a two-party system is a bad idea. If there was a one-party system, then it would be very problematic, Interstellar. And the reason for that is because then everybody would be in an echo chamber of their own design. Twitter, by blocking Trump and all these Republicans and forcing all these Republicans off the platform, tries to turn Twitter into a echo chamber, but for Democrats, for liberals. So them all complaining about Donald Trump. Now, granted, Donald Trump is saying things that actually harms people, and those things should be removed. But removing him off the platform itself makes him a martyr. It turns the whole Twitter into an echo chamber, but not for Republicans, for liberals. And Republicans already have their own echo chambers because they're blocking their ears and just ignoring what other people are saying. Fight for control? No. It's not to. So again, extra here, Interstellar. What we see right now in politics, in the top tiers of government right now, that is the president, that is the Congress, and that is the House, right? These three sources. We see Democrats, we see President Biden, and all the congressional Democrats, all the House Democrats trying to find solutions that Republicans will agree with. And it's the Republican side of all these. It's the Republican side of the House, it's the Republican side of Congress, and it's the Republican side of people themselves when it comes to President Biden that are refusing to cooperate. It's literally one party that makes this not work. Both parties have to work together. You can't just say democracy won't work and nobody's working together when one party refuses to work with the other side and the other side does everything they can to work with them. Democrats do every last thing they can to work with Republicans, and it never works. Republicans just block everything. And then you guys who are on the right wing just throw up your hands and say, oh, everything is screwed. Nobody wins. And all systems are corrupt. No. One party refuses to work in a democracy and you blame the whole system. No. It's because you keep voting in the people that refuse to work together. Quit voting in Republicans. If you just didn't vote Republicans into office, then everybody would be working together. Right now, it's Republicans refusing to work with Democrats who sit there all day trying to reach across the aisle. If you pay attention to politics, you will see every time Democrats pleading with Republicans to please work with them on something. Do something to make it better. And Republicans refuse to help at all, and then they say the Democrats are the problem. And then it leaves people like you to then think that both sides hate each other and refuse to work together. No, it's one side holding up the whole process, and then you blame both sides for it. It proves that you're not thinking critically. Use your brain. Use your brain. Use your brain. Please, use your brain. Use critical thought to understand that democracy and Democrats understand it's a two-party system and want to work together as much as possible with the Republicans. In fact, that's why nothing gets done, is because for 40 years now, Republicans have been catering and taking the information that Republicans learn, and they've been twisting it and altering it to make you think that that both sides are not good. Because again, it's Republicans telling you that Democrats are not okay, and then Republicans are doing all the bad things that you don't like. But because you are Republican and you follow Republican values, you just accept. It's not my perspective, Interstellar. It's literally the truth. It's not a perspective that you can agree or disagree with. It is the literal truth. And if you don't accept it, then you're literally ignoring information to fit your own beliefs. You are then ignoring information to fit your own beliefs. If I hear a Republican talk about something and their values and how they think things should be, and if I don't have anything against it, I'll agree with them. If there's no reason to think that that's wrong for people other than themselves or the country as a whole, I'll accept it. I will accept their point of view and add it to my own point of view. That's not the case when we see the other side. It has to be, when we're looking at conservative way of life, they only believe it has to be their way or no way. How fair is that? How hypocritical is that? It is a two-party system, meaning two parties work together. There is no way to respect my perspective, because it doesn't matter what my perspective is. You remove me from the situation, this problem, it's still there. The facts are still there. Whether or not myself does not matter. What I believe does not matter. What matters is the facts. What matters is reality. What matters is logical conclusion. What matters is the ethical and logical conclusions. Because when you don't have all the information, you're making the wrong decisions. And it's just so important for everybody to think critically. And especially if you are offended by something I've said here today, you need to really reflect on what you believe. What you believe. Why don't you care about other people? Why do you think you care about other people when you don't? Why do you want to force your values on somebody else while thinking that your values should not be infringed upon? If you're infringing on values on other people, why does it not matter to you that you're infringing on other people? If you feel like other people are putting their values on you when they're not, and you're only fearing that they do because you were told to fear that's happening, then why you should really be reflecting on what your own beliefs are and how you understand and look at the world. You should be thinking about other people. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you were born or who you grew up with. You should care about everybody else, Not just your family, not just your friends, not just your country. You should think about everybody in the world. I mean, granted, our country is a really good country that is, I believe, is the best country. I think America has problems, and it's not perfect, but is by far the best country that allows the most people to live in harmony. Take this for the main example, and this is what we'll end on tonight. You can become an American from anywhere. You can come from Europe, move to America, and become an American, and then call yourself an American. But I couldn't move to France, become a citizen there, and then all of a sudden say that I'm French. They would be offended by that. I couldn't go to Russia, move to Russia, then learn their language and learn their culture and just live that way and then call myself Russian. No. You can become an American, but you can't become a different country, in a different nationality. That tells you how inclusive America is already, just by there. Because you can become an American. You can be born anywhere in the world, and you can come to America, and then you can rightfully call yourself an American, even if you were born in a different country. But you can't be born in America and go to a different country and become that nationality. Why is that? It's because they're not as inclusive. They're not for everybody. They're not a collection of cultures and people working together when they're not working together elsewhere. Totally disagree, but you do you. Totally disagree? What are you talking about? People do that all the time, Titanic. Literally everybody. That's how it works. I mean, you can, again, you can disagree with me here. It doesn't make it less true. Again, it's not about, you can disagree with me about that if you want. It doesn't make it less true. You remove me saying it, and I just say that I said nothing about it. It doesn't matter because it's still there. You can say, this is a cup of water. This is going to be a cup of water whether I told you it's a cup of water or not. Whether you believe it's a cup of water is what you choose. But if you drink it and you still don't think it's water, but you look at the chemical composition of it and what the definition of water is, two hydrogens and a carbon, right? Two hydrogens and a carbon. No, two hydrogens and oxygen. That's how it's made. I apparently don't know chemistry. But two hydrogens and an oxygen, it's still water. By definition, it's still water. It doesn't matter if you disagree with me that I said it's water. That doesn't matter. That doesn't change the fact that it's water. That just doesn't change that fact. That's an undeniable fact that you just have to, like, whether you agree or disagree, that doesn't matter. But the U.S. has some of the most strict immigration laws. But that's only because of conservatives. We are a country of immigrants. Why do you think we even exist as a country? We literally got away from Europe to be different from being a part of the British Empire. That is we literally immigrated and had wars because we were immigration. We immigrated as a country. The only people who were here naturally, Titanic, is Native Americans. They were here first. So you're saying that we should just give up? Everybody should just leave and then just have Native Americans run the country. That's what you're saying. Because they were here first. They are the true Americans. None of us. My family immigrated from Ireland. A lot of my family immigrated from Ireland. I don't know about you guys, but if we're saying that America's not a country of immigrants, well then my family, none of them are American, because they all came from other countries. Wherever they go, solely based on your thoughts as American. No, but you can't, because the people would be offended, Titanic. The people wouldn't allow you. It's not, you can call yourself a citizen, but you can't say that you are that nationality. That's my point. You can say that you're a citizen. You can say you're a citizen of France, but you can't say that you are French, because those do not mean the same thing. You can say that you can become a citizen of anywhere and say that you are a citizen of that country, but you can't say that you then are that nationality. They'll be offended by it, no matter where you go. They will be offended. It doesn't matter what you yourself believe then either. It's because what everybody else is going to see of you. They're going to be like, you're not French. You are just a citizen here. I'm French. I was born here, you know? Or they'll be like, you can't say that you're Russian. You can say you're a citizen, but I'm Russian. I grew up here. I was born here. You know, in America, you can become an American, and then you can say that you're an American, and you're not going to get people saying, no, you're not. You're Italian. No, you're not. You're Russian. Maybe because it's black, rules aren't the same. Well, but what do you mean by that? You definitely have, being black, you definitely have way more problems in America than somebody like me. I've lived with white privilege my whole life. So, yeah, that is definitely different. They have a perspective. No, it's not changing it, Interstellar. There is one solid truth, undeniable, that everybody would agree on if they all had critically thought about it. There is an ultimate truth, like I'm saying here. A cup of water. It's the ultimate truth that this is water. Whatever you want to call it, whatever language you want to call it, that doesn't change the chemical compositions of this. The fact that you need this to survive does not change based on how you see it in your perspective. You can say, oh, I don't think I need water to survive, and people say that. Do you think they survive? No, it doesn't help. That their perspective does not shape reality. And that's the thing, is that you seem to be thinking that our perspectives, people's perspectives do shape their reality. But I'm saying right here is that perspective does not shape reality. It's not shaping my reality, that these things I say are true whether or not you want to believe it. You can believe the earth is flat. That doesn't make it flat. You can believe that space is fake. That doesn't mean it's fake. That doesn't mean it. It just doesn't. And at all. It doesn't matter what you believe if something is true. Italian Americans speak fluent Italian, can't move to Italy and become a country-born Italian? I don't know. Andrew. I don't know. I'm saying somebody that is just born in America, raised in America. Maybe. Might not see the sky as blue. Well, yeah. In ways. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Titanic. I don't know, Andrew. If you were to go there, you would have to see that. I don't think they would. I think that if you did not replicate their culture because their culture is not going to be the same as ours. There's going to be a lot of difference that is different in America. I couldn't move to Ireland and say that I'm Irish. I'm Irish American. If I speak fluent Irish, or Gaelic, right? That's what they speak. Then that doesn't mean that I'd become Irish because I didn't grow up with their culture. I didn't grow up with the things that mattered to them, right? Where in America, it's ever changing. Our ideals are ever changing. You've been to Italy, definitely not. So you prove my point. Definitely not what? They definitely don't consider you Italian, or are you saying they did consider you Italian? Because I don't know. I just know what from my experience and from the experiences of others, and they all say the same thing. Exactly what I've said here today. I've never been to another country. So, I couldn't say that what I believe is the case, because it's not about what I believe. That's the whole thing I'm trying to get across here, guys, is through critical thought, it's not about what any one person believes. It's not about what I believe. It's not about differences culture. You're saying that there's no difference in the culture? I'm confused. I'm confused with what the definitely not is about in this context. I'm saying that they disagree and you can't change that. Yes, you can change that, Interstellar, because the whole reason they disagree is because they have different premise. They have a different premise and they're not thinking critically. If everybody thought critically or critically enough and was also able to think ethically, and their premise was the same, they'd come to the same conclusion. All critical thinkers come to the same conclusions. How do I know this? Is that everybody I've met that thinks critically, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, who teaches a masterclass on it, says exactly it. You know, I took a class in university called critical thinking. And that makes it that everything that was said in that class was said by other people, but made perfect sense to me and everybody who thought of critical thinking, because there's a definite way that it is. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. But what you're saying is that you're leading that the horse thinks it's alcohol and it doesn't drink it. Which there's no way to know what the horse thinks or why it's not drinking. In your Interstellar, I understand you're trying to be the devil's advocate here, but you're not doing a very good job of it. The thing is that facts are the facts, whether or not who says it. No matter who leads the horse to water, trying to convince the horse that it's a chicken and that it should drink the water is not the same as leading a horse to water because it wouldn't drink. If you're trying to convince a horse that it's a chicken, that would be a better analogy. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. You're being sarcastic. Oh, sarcasm's really hard. You're saying everyone will not agree with me. It's not about whether they agree with me. If they don't agree with what I'm saying, then that is not a problem with me. That is not a problem with me unless what I'm saying has no basis in facts. But again, since it has nothing to do with me personally and everything to do with the facts that you could decide on your own, and that's the whole point of this. It's the whole point of critical thought. Don't take anything I say as fact. Verify everything. Tell me where I'm wrong. Prove whatever I say is wrong. Do it, because that's the important thing. You're losing the idea of critical thought is important. No, the most important part of critical thought is understanding when we ourselves are wrong and being able to accept that when we're wrong. Now, saying if somebody doesn't agree with the facts, they're not thinking critically. They're just literally they're not thinking critically because they're wrong about something. And they're refusing to accept that they're wrong. As I said at the beginning, I'm wrong about so many things. I'm more often wrong about things before I'm right about them. And that's the thing, is you have to be willing to accept when you're not right. When you yourself are wrong, you have to be willing to accept that what you understand is not the full point of it. Is not the full point. The main point, if you can get to the point where everything you think you can understand that you yourself or me myself in this is understanding that there is a logical and ethical way to see it. They have a different view, but that's the whole thing, is that their views are often decided based on the information, the premise that they have, Stellar. And if they thought critically, they would see the same solution. That's the whole thing about critical thinking, is that everybody will see the same solution. If you think critically, everybody's going to see the same solution. Now, I don't think everybody should think critical like about everything, because then we'd all be robots. There'd be no emotion in anything. And everybody would just be a robot, like, oh, logical, yes, no, definitely not. But using critical thought when it comes to working together, you're not disagreeing. Interstellar, you are asking the right questions. That you are asking the right questions. Yes. How do you get people to want to think critically, to want to understand that? How? That is something I would love to learn, and I would love to discuss on further that's how I think we should continue to discuss. I would love to figure out how. I would love to figure out how to get everybody to think as critically as possible, or even just a little bit. You know, that's why I want to kind of do these. How come our current administration can't own their own mistake? Well, because that's the thing. That is the whole thing, though. Is that the GOP projects everything. There's currently, if the GOP does something wrong that the people don't like, then they will say that the Democrats did it. And then everybody on the right wing of politics will all immediately accept that the Democrats did whatever the GOP told them that they did, when the GOP is lying to them and projecting. It's literally the GOP that did the thing that they're saying the Democrats did, and then everybody on the Republican side of the argument then just accepts that what Republicans and the GOP said is true, and therefore the Democrats are in the wrong. But it's literally the Republicans saying what their actions are. They're literally telling you the actions, but saying it's the Democrats that are doing it. And then people on the right side just believe it. They just believe it. No, Titanic. No, again, you're not fully thinking about it. The government is not perfect. It is a grand experiment. The U.S. is just an experiment that we're still working together on. What we'll still need to work together on, Titanic. It's something that we need to work together on, and it needs to be worked on as a community, as Democrats and Republicans and individuals and Green Party and everybody working together and willfully working together and not trying to hold each other back. People that are on the left are always trying to progress for the better of humanity, for the better of the country, for the better of the world. And then people on the right want to keep everything as it is, don't want to change a thing, want to go back to slavery, want to go back to using radioactive paint, want to go back to eating paint chips, want to go back to driving on using as much gas as possible until we have none left. They want to make as much money as they can while pumping as much toxic stuff in the air, because they don't care about the world. They care about what they own, what they want, and how they want it. And to say that it's the whole government proves that you don't understand how the government works. If it was the whole government right now, it was the whole government, man, whoo! All politicians are corrupt. No, see, that's where your area tells you that, Andrew. All the right-leaning people tell you that all politicians are corrupt. But they're just leaving out the fact that you know that there are 5 congressmen, including Senator Schumer, that live in the same house when they're in Washington. They split the bill for one apartment that they all share. 5 congressmen split the cost on one apartment that they share together. How does that... that alone should tell you the values that they hold. That by itself should tell you the kind of values Democrats hold that are in Congress. Sharing, cooperation. If you listen to Democrats on the floor of Congress, you would hear all the cooperation they try to do. How are they corrupt? How are they corrupt? You're told that they're corrupt by corrupt people. The corrupt people are the ones telling you that everybody else is corrupt. This is exactly what I'm talking about. They tell you that everybody else is doing what they're doing, and you just believe it. You just believe it. You just throw your hands up in the air and say, oh, it's the whole system is corrupt. No, you're just not listening Two, you're just not listening to the other side. You're just listening to one side that tells you that everybody's wrong. Yeah, dude. A lot of people that have money do screw over the poor, but it's not, again, the tax cuts that come are from GOP. The people that make the poor pay more money is the GOP. Things would change. No! Titanic! That's the exact opposite of a democracy. It takes both sides working together. You guys, use your brains, please. Use your brains. It's a democracy. Not one side can change it. It takes both sides working together to change it. So you can't say, oh, if Democrats really cared, they'd do something to change it. No, because they need Republicans to change things. Republicans are more than willing to change everything without the help of Democrats or without Democrats' involvement. Where Democrats refuse to work on anything unless Republicans are on board with it. Literally one side trying everything they can to work together and the other side doing everything they can to screw over the other side. And then you just throw up your hands and say everybody's corrupt. No, that's not the case. It's that you have been politicized in such a way that you refuse to accept reality. The majority should win. And if people stopped, you have eyes and ears. No one convince you who is or not. They all are. Tell me, Andrew, who's corrupt on Democrat? Chuck, who in politics on the left side of politics right now is these corrupt individuals? Come on, I'd like to hear it. How is Biden corrupt? How is Chuck Schumer corrupt? How is AOC corrupt? How is any of these people corrupt? Manchin. Okay, you're choosing a Republican disguised as a Democrat, Titanic. You're literally cherry picking somebody who is obviously an outlying individual. You're literally choosing somebody who is a sheep in wolf's clothing. I mean, a wolf in sheep's clothing. You're literally choosing the one person. That's corruption. Yes, it's corruption on Democrats. But you're literally just naming another Republican. You're literally naming somebody who is siding with Republican values and then pointing out how corrupt it is. Congratulations. You prove my point even more. Republicans are corrupt. Democrats aren't. Thank you for further proving my point. Manchin is a Republican that is, he's not representing who he's supposed to represent. And you know why that is? Because GOP has gerrymandered the states to only accept white people's votes more than black people's votes. Stop voting in Republicans that are going to change who are going to gerrymander the states to such a degree that where the rural white people get to choose the electoral college. And why do we even need an electoral college? Electoral college is not even something we need anymore. We can just use a actual populist vote, a popular vote. Simple. No, Andrew, you have been stuck on that. Republicans, again, your spouting information came straight from the right-sided, right-winged. You're just completely ignoring it. Republicans blame Democrats. Yeah, but Interstellar, you're not listening to the full situation. Again, I don't know where you are, where you've been for the past 10 minutes, but you're not listening to a dang word I've said. I've already explained how that's wrong over and over and over, but you're just not hearing it. It's not clicking. You're obviously upset. Everybody who refuses to listen to what I'm saying right now, you're clearly upset because you're in that headspace where you can't hear what I'm saying. You're upset by what I'm saying, and you're trying to defend your family, your friends, your cousin, your dog. You know, you're trying to defend your decisions. But I already explained how that's wrong. Republicans do wrong things, then say Democrats are doing it. Democrats are trying to work with Republicans, and Republicans literally won't work with them. And then you say they're all bad because Democrats are trying to work with Republicans and doing nothing wrong, and then Republicans do wrong things and say it's Democrats, and you're just like, oh, they're all wrong. But you just, because they're to blame. In this case, they are to blame. Republicans are lying to you about, Republicans are literally lying to you about the information. Yeah. My point is that Republicans in this case are GOP and the whole issue is that Republicans refuse to work with the right side. So stop voting in Republicans and it would change. My point is that we have to stop voting Republicans in. I'm proving that you need to stop voting for Republicans. That's all that I'm proving. Is you're literally trying to just shift the blame and say that it's all corrupt. That's wrong. You're not using critical thought. You're literally not using critical thought. It is supposed to be working together. For inflation, open borders, gas price. Andrew, the war. The war is meant for that, bro. The war, Ukrainian war. What's up, Raiders? Welcome, Kevin Thunder, Rap, Star, Team, Ancient One, Gala, Kimbo, Diego, Domestic Fishy. Thank you so much for that. It's a broken cycle. It is. And the thing is that we need to stop voting Republicans into office. Simple as that. Everybody would be happy if we just stopped voting Republicans into office. Simple as that. Just stop voting Republicans into office and things would benefit. Vote your independents in. Vote somebody else in. Just not somebody who only cares about themselves, right? Yeah, inflation. Yeah, so what the thing is right now, Andrew, you just said a whole bunch of things that are going on in the whole world right now, Andrew. Again. Then Republicans would not be happy. They're going to have to change their values to be more in line with people that care about others. That's the whole thing, Interstellar. We don't care if Republicans are not happy that they don't get to have slaves. I don't care if a Republican is upset with me because I don't want that Republican to have a slave. I don't care if that makes them unhappy. Let them be unhappy. What? Who cares if they want slaves? That's not for them to decide. That shouldn't be for them to decide. Of course they're going to be unhappy if they don't get to have the slaves they want or the guns they want. Who said anything about slaves? That is a Republican value. That is a Republican value. That is unsaid. That they want conservative, Confederate plays. They want all that. Don't want slaves. By trying to continue the Confederacy and pushing for that, they unwittingly are trying to push back towards slavery, towards segregation. Look at abortion. Look at abortion literally right now as we talk about it. Again, everything happens. Democrats, on the Republican side of life, it has now become your body, my choice, my body, my choice. So you don't say anything wrong? No, you can't say something wrong here, Team Lake. I mean, you can. I guess you could. If I'm going to point out if you say something that is just blatantly not thinking critically. Party that found it. No, Interstellar, you can't use that argument. Andrew tried to bring that up. Words change. The words change. You have to take in values that are modern. By trying to say, oh, in the history books, Democrats thought differently than they do today. That's not the same thing. Words change, meanings change, behaviors change. I don't give a crap what Democrats used to do. What we see today is Democrats not wanting anything to do with what Democrats back then wanted. They literally think different things. So just by saying that the same word, when words change on a daily basis. People be using vibe. A vibe did not used to mean a mood. Didn't used to mean anything it does now. If you're vibing, if you're just vibing, that meant you were vibrating. 10 years ago, that meant you were vibrating. You were, this is vibing. This is vibing. That was vibing 20 years ago. But now, vibing means, bro, I'm vibing, bro. Let's all vibe. Ah, man, this song is such a vibe. What a mood. These things, words change. You can't say that how a word was meant 100 years ago is the same word it means today, because it isn't. Words can change their meaning based on how it's used within a year, within a month. That's just how it is. That's why they're all rich now, bro. That's also fine. No one is saying. Actually, there are people. There are people carrying Confederate flags that are saying there should be slaves, and they are the people who currently are the ones who call themselves Republicans. So, unfortunately, people that call themselves Republicans want to have slaves. Now, is that the entire thing? No, but do you see that in Democrats at all? No. Not one Democrat will say they see that way. Not even one will even argue for it in pro-slavery. Not even one single person that calls themselves a leftist. No, that proves that since the group is okay with having a minority, having that as being a part of their minority in that group, says a lot about the party, don't you think? Don't you think that says a lot about the party if they're okay that that's part of their group? They're all like, oh, no, they're just a fringe group. We don't really care about them. But yeah, they're Republicans. Yeah, they agree that we share our values, all except this one thing. Oh, and this other thing too. Oh, and also this other thing we don't agree with, but also this other thing we don't agree with. But I still believe these Republicans more than Democrats. There should be more. Yeah. Well, I think, as I've been saying, Republicans are going to die out because even if Republicans now don't want to believe it, even if Republicans don't want to believe it or believe things that are reality, their kids are gonna change, whether they like it or not, right? Their kids are gonna change. Their kids are gonna choose something else. Their kids are going to be doing a different, are going to be changing for them. And then it's going to change anyways. I think that we should definitely have, multiple parties because people do not think the same. And people are not all going to think critically, so we're not all going to have the same idea on something. But one thing I think we can all agree on is that everybody's lives matter. Everybody. Doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what walk of life you come from. Everybody's lives matter, and nobody should try to interfere with other people's lives as long as it doesn't affect them. You know? As long as it doesn't affect them. Like, you can dislike that gay people want to wear rainbows or something. That's stereotypical and not really true all the time. Most of the time. But my point is that you can hate that gay people like rainbows, right? And trying to stop gay people from flying rainbow flags because you don't like it is not something you should do. It's not harming you. Now if you wanted gay people to not get guns so they can't shoot people and nobody can get guns that way, there you go. Then they can't harm each other. The thing is that all the people with guns are shooting the people without guns. That's what's hurting it right now, is that all these people with guns on the Republican side of things are hurting the people that don't have guns because they don't think they're necessary. So again, it's what ends up happening is your body my choice, a my body my choice system, and it really only harms things. Fishy, I'm sorry you came in on this. Are you still there, Fishy? Fishy, thank you so much for that raid. I've gotten off topic. I've been meaning to do a raid ourselves so we can head on out of here, but I just get off on talking. If you guys, I really do got to end it though. I really do got to end it because I've been streaming all this time, and yeah, man, it's going super late. I meant it for only be an hour long. It's been now 2 hours. Almost 2.5 hours. Easier that way. It doesn't mean you have to get rid of it. Ban of peas. Exactly. So, guys, I plan on doing this next week. It won't be about misconceptions. It'll be about other things, maybe, but it'll probably still be about critical thought, and there may be some politics still involved. I try to keep the politics to a minimum, but it's going to be a centrist view. It's my views, and the things I talk about should just be things that everybody, no matter who you are, would accept. And if you don't accept it, tell me why. You might change my mind. You might change my mind on an issue, and I might end up agreeing with you that your idea is better. Because that's the nature of critical thought. That is literally the nature of critical thought. All Republicans are bad. No. I'm saying that the Republican ideal is getting worse, Interstellar. I wasn't trying to make it sound like all Republicans are bad, which I guess I could see where you would think where what I said would come across as that, but it's the Republican ideals that I have an issue with, not Republicans themselves. I'm friends with plenty of Republicans. I'm friends with plenty of people who live and are surrounded by right-wing people all day, every day, and believe what they say. And I don't hate them. I don't hate anybody. I hate zero people. I have no problem with a single person on this planet. I used to when I was younger, and I realized a long time ago that there's just no time for that. There's no time for hate on anybody. I don't even dislike Trump. I don't think he makes the best decisions, but I don't hate him. I even agree with some of his stuff. I thought people were sitting there laughing about Space Force, and I'm all like, bruh, that's a good idea. We should have a Space Force. Maybe the term Space Force is a little dumb. It sounds kind of quirky, but the idea of a Space Force for America is very important. Because that is where the next thing we need to think about is going to be, is in space. You hate Trump, and you're more than welcome to dislike or whatever. I just don't. And I don't want to, because I will not accept he's a horrible person. I am not saying he's a good person. Space Marines more. Bro, Space Marines sounds cool, bro. Space Marines sounds cool. But in any case, it's been the Air Force doing all of the spacey stuff for a long time now, but it is its own field. And maybe we'll talk about that next time, is how things we take for granted are actually hugely part of our society. Like the fact that the military and funding for the military has given us so many technologies that we use today. So war has actually developed our peace, all of our technologies that we use in peace. TVs and all this stuff. We developed it as a way to fight each other at first. Which, hopefully that's not going to be all the case. I mean, NASA has taken up the mantle of designing new technologies in the past, 30 plus years that we use, but 30, 40 years. And then it's been less about war, but still war technologies have been advanced in times of war. Exactly. You'd be a Space Marine. Space Marine sounds cool, bro. Guys, I didn't shout out Domestic Fishy. Fishy, Domestic, are you there? Domestic. I don't know how much rating me on, how do you spell domestic? I feel like I'm saying it wrong. Rating me on these days might be a little iffy if I'm doing these, because I'm probably going to offend a lot of people that are not willing to think critically or anything. And you're not going to offend me. None of you are going to offend me with what you say. Never think that anything you say is going to offend me. I will tell you how you're wrong. If you are. But if I'm wrong, please tell me. if you tell me how I'm wrong or how you think I'm wrong, and we'll discuss it. We'll discuss how the best solution, even if it's not the way I currently think in anything. So, if you guys enjoyed this, be sure to join us next Tuesday, where we continue. Next Monday, where we'll do another podcast situation. Let me look at our statistics today. We had 21 likes, 102 views. Let me look really quick about how many people unsubscribed from the channel. And nobody unsubscribed from the channel. That is very surprising. That means that you guys enjoyed my talks. So thanks so much for enjoying the talks. I like that you guys do, because I'm not a gamer. In the end, as I said at the beginning of the stream, I'm not a gamer at heart. I'll end up. I am much more about politics and real life stuff. And my ultimate goal is to design technologies, which you guys might not realize that. My ultimate goal is to design new technologies that better all of humanity. You know, like, find some way to make an engine that runs on magnetic power. You know, things like that. Pretty cool. Thank you guys so much for joining and hanging out today. If you enjoyed this podcast, and if you're watching it as a replay, let me know in the comments below all the things you liked, all the things you didn't, things you like, things you disagreed with, things you agreed with, and maybe we'll discuss it next time as well on next Monday. Thank you guys so much. Guys, there's Domestic Fishy's link. Please go check out Domestic Fishy. Thank you again, Domestic. I'm pretty sure you're not here because I was talking politics. Oh, you're still here. Yay! Domestic, thank you so much. It actually means a lot to me, Domestic, that you rated us and came over today, because you've been hanging out in the streams a lot, and it means a lot to me. So thank you so much for giving that raid today. Again, maybe for the sake of your viewers, who are probably not going to like me too much for being political and whatnot, maybe avoid Mondays, just because I don't want to offend anybody. And sometimes it's the case that if people bring their viewers over to me and I say something they don't like, then they unsubscribe from the person that brought them to me too. So, the fossils, solar, nuclear, right? We can. Guys, bring up your own topics and we'll talk about them as well. So, would you be a space Marine Corps? Bro. But you explain I'm a cool guy. Well, all day I've been talking about critical thinking, and really it all boils down to critical thought. Is what everything this is called. ACT, a critical thought. That is the name of this podcast, because that's what we'll do here. That's what we're going to do here, is we're going to spend time thinking critically. Today was misconceptions about everything, about you name it. We talked about so many different styles of misconceptions, but we'll talk about that next Monday. Let's go do a raid. Do I have somebody I can have us redirect to? Oh, Domestic Fishy, you probably have redirect on your channel as well. General misconceptions? Yeah, general misconceptions. You guys want to go raid Twisted? He's playing some Apex right now. What else do we have? Wait, what do you guys want to see? Minecraft update. Wait, what? Wait, did the update for Minecraft come out already? I don't think so. Is it? No, when did it come out? It comes out on the 8th, right? Right? Maybe. You're buffering? Uh-oh. Kevin be buffering. Sunday, right? I don't know. The Wild coming out tomorrow. Okay, so it's coming out tomorrow on the 7th. Comes out tomorrow, bro. You're kind of tired, so you'll raid and run. That's fine. We're gonna do a redirect raid, so that means that it's automatically gonna take you over there. You don't even have to do anything. I mean, I will give you a link anyway, so you guys can use the link. But let Let's see. Who are we going to raid? Oh, let me go to the raid screen. Why not go to the raid screen, bro? Let's see. Who are we raiding? Let me take you guys over to... Have we ever raided Twisted with a redirect? I don't think we've ever raided Twisted with a redirect. So let's go give him his very first redirect raid. If he hasn't gotten one. He's playing some Apex. I'll be probably playing a little bit of that later tonight. On stream? Unlikely. But I'll probably be playing a little bit later tonight. Anyways, let's go do a raid over to Twisted Dreams. He's a good friend of ours over here. Spends a lot of time here as well. Let me put up his information in the redirect really quick. So Domestic Fishy, you probably also have redirect available on your Strimity Strands by using the customization in the customization tab. Know You're Awesome? Yes, we can do a Know You're Awesome or a hashtag Kynk raid. Either way is fine. But until tomorrow, tomorrow morning, guys, we're going to be doing, as I'm ending the stream, tomorrow morning, we are doing Phoenix Wright, voice acting, right here, solving some legal cases. If you didn't watch the videos, that would be a good way to catch up to this case that we're currently doing. Okay, guys, in about 30 seconds after the outro is over, you'll be automatically taken, and I'll give you guys a link too so you can follow it. Till tomorrow, though, tomorrow morning, I will see you for some Phoenix Wright, and I'll be voice acting all the characters. Until then, stay amazing, sleep well, and toodaloo.